Good day, everyone. Before I start to discuss my lessons, I would like to introduce to you myself first. I am Nadine taking up Bachelor of Technology and Livelihood Education, major in Agriculture and Arts. My topic or lessons is all about outcome-based education for teachers' preparations curriculum. There are five discerned learning outcomes. Let me allow to read these five discerned learning outcomes. Number one, define what is outcome-based education as this apply teachers' education. Number two, analyze the four principles in outcome-based education. Number three, describe how teaching and learning relate to OBE. Number four, explain how the achieved learning outcomes will be assessed. Then summarize the prospective teachers' roles and responsibilities in the implementation of the outcome-based education. What is outcome-based education? Now, now there is an advocate that really focus or impose of OBE or outcome-based education, and he is Dr. William Speedy. Again, Dr. William Speedy. Dr. William Speedy, a leading definer, advocate, teachers, and implementer of this successful for all learners parodies. Let's let's first define the based education or the OBE. According to Speedy 1994, OBE or outcome based education is clearly focusing on organizing everything in the educational system around the essential shell for the students to do successfully at the end of their learning experiences. It did start with a clear pictures of what is the importance of the students to do or organizing the curriculum, instruction, and assist to make sure that learning well happens. The outcome based education is about preparing students for life, not simply getting college or employment. The outcome based education is culminating demonstration of learning, wherein the outcomes occur at the end of these definitions clearly points to the results of the education which are the learning outcomes that are made up knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes that students should be acquired most to make them reach their full potential and lead fulfilling lives as individuals in the community at work. As you can notice in our desired learning objectives, when we are making detailed lesson plan, we have cognitive, psychomotor, and affective traits that could measure students' achievement, and they can actually demonstrate what they can do in a particular lessons. To define and clarify further, answer to the following question should be addressed by the teachers. Number one, what do we want students to learn? Number two, why do we want students to learn these things? Number three, how can we best help students to learn these things? Number four, how will you learn? How will you know when you have learned? What, why, how? This question should be addressed by the teachers. Speedy premises that in outcome-based education, all students can learn and succeed, but not at the same time or in the same way. Successful learning promotes even more successful in learning. The school and teachers control conditions that will determine if the students are successful in the school learning. In order to comply with the three premises of William Speedy, there are four essential principles should be followed, either planning, instruction, teaching, and assessing. These are clarity of focus, designing backwards, high expectation, and expanded opportunities. So now, let's tackle the clarity of focus. Number one, clarity of focus. Teachers should have a clear focus of what they want students to learn. Teachers should bear in mind that the outcome of teaching is learning. To achieve this, teachers and students should have a clear pictures in mind of what knowledge, skills, values must be achieved at the end of teaching learning process. This is like looking straight ahead so that the target will be reached. We should know or be aware of what knowledge, skills, values to be achieved before we taking the lessons. Number two, designing backwards. At the beginning of the curriculum, design the learning outcomes was clarified defined. What achieved at the end of formal schooling is determined as beginning. Decisions, activities, and process are always traced by the desired result. This means that planning, implementing, or teaching and assessing should be connected to the outcomes so we already know what we want in the end to learn. To relate everything to the results, the process should be connected or related, enriching your desired learning outcomes for the students. As you remember in our previous lessons in the profit subjects or instructors always tell us learning objectives must be connected against activities so that they can commit the activities or the discussion achievements that adding to desired learning outcomes. Number three, the high expectation. Establish high expectation, challenging standards of the performance will be encourage students to learn better. This is the parallel of the law or effect which says that success reinforces learning motivates, builds confidence and encourage learners to do better. Let's say rubrics, for example. We set the standards through rubrics so that the students will be aware of standards and from they will actually exert effort just to achieve that learning standards of that activity. Let's just trust our student that they can do their or they can do whatever they want unless they will be learning. And the last, expanded opportunities. In OPE, all students are expected to excel. Hence, equal expanded opportunities should be provided. As advocates of multiple intelligence, every child has genius in him, herself, and is capable of doing their best. Learners develops in burn potentials. Of corresponding opportunities and support are given to natures so that they have skills and knowledge to learn more. The next, we will relate the teaching and learning in OBE. Learners, teaching is teaching if learners is learn. Learning outcomes, learning is measured by its outcomes. Learning, in intent should be focused on learning. Relatedness, subjects do not exist in isolation. Innovation, students should learn how to learn. There are 6 steps on how teaching can be done in OBE. Number Tips number 1. Teachers must be prepared students adequately. This can be done if the teachers know what they want the students to learn and about of what learning outcomes. To achieve the prerequisite knowledge is important. Thus, a review is necessary at the start of the lessons. That's why we have a pretest or recap as a part of our daily lesson plan. Tips number 2. Teachers must create positive learning environment. Yes, a student should feel the regardless of individual uniqueness. The teachers is always there to help. Teacher and students relationship is very important. The classroom atmosphere should provide respect for diverse kind of the learners. Tips number 3. Teachers must help their students to understand their learnings. The, we must teach our students so that they impact more knowledge, skills, and understanding to go on the lessons or our discussions. Tips number 4. Teachers must use a variety of teaching methods. The most appropriate strategy should be used taking into the learning outcomes teacher wants the students to achieve, also to consider are the contents of characteristic of the students, resources available, and the teaching skills of the teachers. Tips number 5. Teachers must provide students with enough opportunities, yes, to use the new knowledge and skills that they gain. They can explore with new learnings, errors, and adjust their thinking. Applications of learning is encouraged rather than more accumulation of these. Tips number 6. Teachers must help students to bring each learning to a personal closure, to make them aware of what they have learned, help them to be aware of what they have learned in that lessons. Here are the additional key points in the teaching of learning in OBE. Should the ships Here is the additional key points in teaching and learning in OBE, which show the shifts from the traditional to the OBE views. So that it can gain to have further knowledge about that. But first, see what is the difference between the traditional view and the OBE view or the outcome-based education. Assessment of learning outcomes in OBE or outcome-based education. Assessment in OBE should be guided by the four principles of OBE. It should contribute to the objective of the improving students' learning. Since in OBE or outcome-based education, there is a need first establish their vision of what the students are expected to learn or is their learning outcome. Then assessment becomes an embedded part of the system. Guide principles in OBE or outcome-based education assessment. Number 1. Assessment produced should be valid. Number 2. Assessment produced should be reliable. Number 3. Assessment should be fair. Number 4. Assessment should reflect to the knowledge and skills of the students. Number 5. Assessment should be tell how students progressing. Number 6. Assessment should be support every student's opportunities. Number 7. Assessment should support every student's opportunities. Number 7. Assessment should have individuality. Number 8. Assessment should be comprehensive. This is the guide principles in learning the OBE. Learning responsibility for OBE. In OBE or outcome-based education, students are responsible for their own learnings and progress. Learning is personal matter that the students have or learn or they can gain. Teachers can only facilitate the learning, define the learning outcomes to be achieved, and assist the students to achieve these outcomes. Teacher will help or facilitate the students to learn more in that lessons or any kind of lessons so that the students will be ready for their future. Students have a bigger responsibility to achieve the outcomes that they will be able to know whether they are learning or not. Learning guide in OBE. What do I have to learn? Why do I have to learn these things? What will be doing while I'm learning? What will be doing while I am learning? Number 4. How will I know I am learning? Number 5. Will I have any say in what I learn? Number 6. How will I be assist? So that that's the questions that will be addressed that should be why the students in our UBE or curriculum. This is the questions that addressed by the students in our UB curriculum. And that's the end of our lessons for today. So here's the